is Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 79.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curren and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass, living life on your terms.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart. I'm joined with my lifelong childhood friend, John Curren. And today's episode is, Psst, hey, buddy, a minute of your time. I just had to do that, John. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man, I can't blame you. You know, isn't that caption, isn't that like the leading sales pitch that comes with any sales pitch?
Absolutely.
You know, someone asking you for a minute of your time. And today's episode is about asking yourself for a minute of your time, because at the base or the foundation of living on your own terms, it comes down to a simple minute of your time. The point I'd like to make is that your time matters. How you spend your time makes a difference in your life, even if it's just a simple minute.
It's the only thing we really have, John, is our time.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because right now, in this moment, we are alive and we're breathing. The past is something that's gone. It's in our memory. It's a product of our thought now at this point. The future is the same thing. It's in our mind. It has not yet happened. We're not guaranteed a future. All we have right now is this moment. And I think that people squander their time. The average life expectancy for the world is 67.2 years. Okay, give or take, it's an average. That equates to, let's see, 1 minute of your time. Over a year accounts for over 525,000 minutes, and over that 67.2 years of the average life, that gives us about 35 million minutes to use up over our lifetime. And we all see time as being something very valuable, but aren't we willing to give up a minute of our time out of these 35 million? I think it's a false perception. We have all the time in the world until we don't. So we waste our time, and this episode is about how you can use a minute of your time to leverage yourself into a position that will lead to you spending your time more as you choose, doing the things that you want to do, getting more out of life. That's what this is all about. There's a great quote, I think, and it's by Susan B. Anthony, and it says, "The older I get, the greater power I seem to have to help the world. I'm like a snowball. The further I am rolled, the more I gain." And if you think about the creation of a snowball, it all just begins with a single snowflake falling from the sky until the ground is covered in snow. And then you have to make a decision to go out there and gather some of that snow up in your hands and kind of gather it and compact it and make a nice, firmly packed snowball. And then you have a decision, are you going to throw that snowball at your friend and hit him in the head and get a good laugh out of it? Or are you going to put that on the ground and maybe do something with it? Build a snowman, build a snow creature, unleash your creative powers on that snowball. Now, if you put it on the ground and you start rolling it, it's going to start picking up more snow, and it's going to gather in size and get larger and larger and larger until you reach a point to where you say, you know what, this is enough work to do that. I built this huge snowball. But if you do that same thing on a hill, that snowball can actually start to gain momentum. It can start to kind of take on a life of its own and keep rolling down that hill without you working on it at all, and gather to such a huge size that, you know, it wipes out the town below in the valley.
Well, isn't it a great analogy, though, for what we talk about? Is small steps lead to big changes, and those small little incremental steps build up over time and gain momentum, as you say.
Yeah, you know, and we really do squander our time. We think we have all this time available to us, that it's okay to give up a minute of our time. But the most successful people have learned how to use those minutes that they have to their advantage. And, you know, I was talking with my daughters about this just yesterday, about a song that came on the radio. You know, a lot of musicians, they put a lot of hard work and dedication into the practice of their art, into their music, and they create a song. You know, some bands, they get together and they record a song, and that song, if it hits the charts, even if it's just one song, they can live off of the royalties of that music for the rest of their life. Just a one-hit wonder who hits like the top 10 charts or top 100, I think it is, they can live off of the royalties from that work the rest of their life. Now, it's not going to be luxurious. You know, you're not going to be able to get a mansion out of that, but you could pay for a small apartment and your living expenses just off of that work.
Hey man, I used to work with Prince Marky D from the Fat Boys, and they were one-hit wonders. They had the movie The Orderlies or Disorderlies. But after that, you never really heard from them. But he still gets checks constantly for, you know, playing his songs.
You know, look at Billy Squier. Remember, Billy Squier was a huge rock star back when we were growing up. And he had a bunch of hits. In fact, he sang on Sesame Street. He sang a Christmas song with the Sesame Street characters. That was huge, you know, back in the day. But he left the music scene kind of at the top of his game, and you don't hear about him much because he moved to Europe and he married a French model, and I think he still plays music and plays like small acoustic gigs, but he doesn't have to work for the rest of his life. I mean, he's living off of the royalties and doing basically whatever he wants. To me, that's you know, he made an investment of his time. He worked very hard to get to that point, and then he made a decision to use it.
Didn't this whole idea come to your mind when you were thinking about playing your guitar?
Yes. I had hand surgery recently, and that kind of sidelined me.
And it looks like John's hand looks like a zombie, just so you know. He just showed it to me, and I was like, holy crap, you look like you walked out of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they cut it right to the bone to do some repair work on it, but it's fine. But, you know, I like playing guitar, and I'm okay. It's just a hobby. It's just for fun, but I want to be a better player. That's important to me. And I was thinking about it, how, you know, going back to our high school band days, Tom. Tom and I were band geeks, and we both played saxophone, and we both, you know, had to put in our practice. And we learned back then that if you set aside, you know, 10 minutes of your day to practice day in and day out, you will improve your playing. You put in the time and the effort, and that 10-minute session builds over time. So you need to practice, and you need to keep working at it. And as you do that, it builds, and you become a better player for it.
You know, and it's such a small increment of time. You think, that's it, 20 minutes? But I was talking to my brother-in-law last night. He's also, you know, a guitar player. And I asked him, was it how often do you play? He goes, every day. Because it's usually only about 10 or 20 minutes, but I'll hear a song coming home from work and I'll go home and I'll try to figure out if I can, play it, or I'll look on YouTube and, get some instruction on how to play it. And it really is. It's, John, as you know, I've been doing the stairs. I do there's a tower above my house. It's 5 stories and I do it 20 times, which is like 100 flights of stairs. And I've been doing this religiously daily. And when you think about it, it really doesn't take that much time. It probably takes me about 30 to 45 minutes, with everything wrapped up. And it's really not that much time, but it makes me feel great. I feel better than I ever have in my life, and I'm losing weight and I just feel lighter on my feet. I feel younger. My wife says I look sexier, so I'm too sexy for my shirt, that kind of.
Good for you, Tom.
Yeah, but it really doesn't take that much time. It's just that consistency of doing it every single day. And if you miss sometimes, it's okay because you've been doing it every single day.
Yeah, and so here we are, spending 10 or 20 minutes of your time doing something that you enjoy doing, as well as something that you want to do, as compared to something that, spending your time doing something that someone else wants you to do. Living life on your own terms. We talk a lot about that on our show, and the definition differs person to person. What I want out of life is different than what you want out of life, and vice versa. And that's okay. But one common theme, and one that applies to everybody, is that living life on your terms is about having a life that you are doing things that you enjoy, and that you're controlling your time and your energy and effort. Isn't that the ultimate goal of all of our lives, to live life as we choose, and doing things because we want to do it, not because we have to do it. So by carving out just 10 minutes of your day to practice guitar, or carving out, 45 minutes a day to run the stairs, you are in essence controlling your terms. You are doing something with your time that you directly benefit from. Now, over time, I'm going to want to increase my guitar playing by, say, 10 more minutes. So, 20 minutes a time. And maybe I want to start doing yoga or meditating, or maybe I want to start running stairs or doing something else. In that regard, you get the snowball effect, to whereas the more you do it, the more time out of your day that you're capturing. So, forward this on, and with determination and commitment to this approach, ultimately you want to spend all of your time doing everything that you want to do because you want to do it, and it directly benefits you. You might not be able to do it every day, and that's okay, because over time you will just naturally increase the amount of time that you can spend doing the things that you want to do. I think that's what life really is all about. So you start out with, 5 minutes, and then you're building to 10, and then, you take a big jump to 30 minutes, whatever it is, whatever works for you, you're carving out specific periods of time or moments of time that you directly benefit from, with the ultimate goal of spending more and more time to do that. Now you can put a financial component on that as well, like I've been doing over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, my wife and I have paid off over 240 grand in debt. That is gone. The only way we did that is by the snowball effect. Focusing our effort in small chunks towards getting rid of that debt and those ties that bind us. And that's created financial freedom for us, which has opened up opportunities and given us the opportunity to have more control over our life. I don't feel so tied to a job because I'm not as financially dependent on that job anymore as I was 10 years ago. I mean, the thought of losing my job 10 years ago would give me a heart attack. It was too much, it was too much. I am less dependent on that regular income, and I know I can survive if that was to change. To me, that's positioned not only myself but my family to make more, and to be able to make more and better decisions that govern my life directly.
All right, John. So we talk about real world examples. My dream, and the people who have listened to this show know this dream. I want an RV. I want an RV, and I want to be able to travel around the United States, and make my living on the road. I don't want to have to. I'm not talking about completely retiring and just going fishing all the time. I'm talking about making viable income on the road. And one of the things that one of our other goals was, me and John talk about going hiking one day, maybe the Appalachian Trail, and tying all this in as a business venture. Well, that's one of the reasons that I started doing the stairs, was to get in shape for hiking. I figured, what's the most thing, what can I do to make sure that 5 years from now, I'm in the best shape of my life in order to do and attain the goals that I wanted. And I figured, well, it's going uphill. Let's try that. But also, at the same time, I'm trying to learn in little doses how to code. I'm trying to learn skills that will be applicable anywhere, location independent, as you might say. Something that I can work on my laptop from my motorhome and still make a viable income, consulting, and all these things that I'm leading up to. But I'm trying to find out, okay, what would it take in 5 years when my son graduates high school to be able to rent out my house, get an RV, and hit the road? And I'm making these plans, and I'm making these little changes now, these little pivots in order to set that up. And that's all little increments, whenever I have a little bit of free time. Yep. I go to lynda.com and I watch some coding courses, and, I focus on, the business plan that I constantly have a picture in my mind of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And I talk with my wife, and we're setting a plan in action.
Yeah. I think, going back to what you said about retirement, I think the definition of retirement has changed, in that, when I retire, I'm not thinking about sitting on the porch drinking lemonade in a rocking chair with a blanket over me. That has no appeal to me whatsoever. I don't plan on slowing down when I retire. I plan on speeding up.
Amen, brother.
And living more and getting more out of life. Ultimately, isn't that what we all want? No matter what our walk of life is, we just want to enjoy our life and get more and more out of it over time. That's where I think this snowball effect really can pay off for you, to where you can create an unstoppable force that is moving on its own, and is going to just create a path for you that is going to lead you to where you want to go. My view of retirement, like I said, isn't sitting on that porch drinking lemonade as an old man with a blanket on me. It is about supporting your lifestyle, or having the ability to support your lifestyle without having to work. So that doesn't require millions and millions of dollars in your bank account. It depends on what kind of life you want to live. If you keep your expenses low, then you don't need to have a lot of money to support that lifestyle. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think money is going to buy you happiness. I think control over your time and control over your decisions is going to give you more happiness. Now, Tommy, I see you run it. I see your posts about running the stairs, and I also see that you're going out, taking dancing lessons with your wife.
Yeah.
You're spending more time with Jen.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely. I'm investing in my relationship too. That's one thing that I started doing, and it pays off. I mean, if you take those little moments that you take for granted and make sure you tell your significant other, how beautiful they are, or what they do for you, or how can you help, it all adds up. And we're really right now, it's like the best time in our relationship I've ever had, best time in my life.
That's
I
awesome.
feel good. I feel good with my relationship. I feel good with my career. I feel good with where I'm headed, which is important. So I have hope. And I think having hope is everything, man.
See, you just pointed out what I was trying to get to, is that I see it. I see that you are happier than I've ever seen you in your life. And it's contagious. It's not only you that's smiling in the pictures, it's your wife, it's your kids, it's people around you. Um, when you start living your life as you choose and you become happy with your life, it is contagious. It's like a yawn. When you yawn around someone else is going to yawn. And it the same thing happens. Um, I love it. I love seeing it in action, and it makes me happy for you. It makes me a bit envious because within the last few months, I've had to deal with a herniated disc in my back, which has sidetracked my ability to exercise, and I've had hand surgery, which also has kind of put me to the sidelines. So while you're getting in shape, I'm getting not flabby, but soft.
Soft.
I feel out of shape. I don't like that. But I'm on the mend, and I'm continuously, trying to get myself back into that position.
It does motivate others. Jen said that to me the other day. She goes, I feel like I'm getting soft and you're getting in shape. And I mean, because Jen's always been, doing CrossFit and she does jujitsu. So she's always active, but I guess her programming, her workout routines have changed a little bit. And she thought that she wasn't in shape. I think she looks great, but it motivated her to start, refining her own routine. And I have people at work. I had a guy the other day, he does Taekwondo, and, I'm almost 50 years old, and the guys I work with are, probably 10, 15 years younger than me, on my team. And one of them was like, look, if Tom can go do this damn stairs and go to jujitsu after working 12-hour day, then I can get my ass into the dojo and, do my Taekwondo kicks that night. But he told me that, and it made me feel good. And I've had other people that, follow me on Facebook or whatever like that. And a guy walked up to me at work and he was like, you're my only American friend. He's Cuban and he hasn't been here for very long. But he goes, you're my only American friend. And I love your lifestyle, like how you live. It's beautiful. The family and the lifestyle and the things I see you doing and activities that you're in. It makes me feel really good and inspires me to get out with my family and do things. So it is contagious.
And it is about creating beauty in this world. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So what Tom views as beauty, or as I view as beauty, might be different than yours. And that's fine. I mean, that's what makes this world so fun, is that everyone has a different view. Now, you mentioned about investing your time. And I think let's talk about that a little bit. So when you invest in something, you can create an asset. And what that asset does is that it's generating some type of return for you. Once you make that investment, it's working for you. Like you said, Tom, spending time with Jen, you're investing in your relationship with your wife, and that is returning, it's returning love to you. It's developing your relationship, making it stronger. You can have a financial investment. If you're investing in, real estate or stocks or some type of true asset that is returning some type of income. Like, I guess rental property would be the best example. You buy a piece of rental property, and based on that investment, you're getting money to come back. Now, most people don't think of life in terms of creating either assets or liabilities. Now, liabilities are in simple terms, it's something that costs you. So the house that we live in, it's not necessarily an asset because it's not generating money. It still continues to cost you money. You're paying the mortgage on your house. So until you pay off your house, it is a liability. It's never going to generate revenue for you until you sell it. If you buy a car, that is a liability. You're going to, especially if you buy it with a car loan, you're going to have to pay on that car each and every month, no matter what. You're going to have to pay for upkeep. You're going to have to pay for insurance. A lot of money is coming out of your pocket. It's not generating money to put back in your pocket, unless maybe you're a pizza delivery guy
or Uber driver.
Yeah, an Uber driver. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way to to help turn a liability into an asset, and it all is based on generating income, generating revenue without you having to work for it. I guess that's the true definition of an asset: is that you make the investment, it continues to return value to you without you having to work for it.
You know, listening to this podcast and other podcasts like it, ones that are all about personal change or growth, or if you're learning a hobby or whatever it might be, that's kind of utilizing your time, because a lot of people are commuting. I know that's when I would listen to podcasts, is when I was commuting or when I'm working out or exercising, so I can do two things at once, and I'm doing something positive that helps you learn and grow.
Yeah, you're making an investment of your time so you get something out of it. You know, the same thing is if you're going to school, you're making an investment in yourself. You're developing skills that are marketable, that you will get paid for doing. I guess that's it's somewhat, if you look at the strict definition of what an asset is, it's if you're investing in yourself so that you can work and earn a better income, it's still going to involve work. It's not passive. It's not passive income. But there are a few things that I think in life that are truly passive. You have to work at it in one way or another. Another item I thought would be important to talk about is, since we're talking about moments of your life and things that you can do in 1 minute of your time, I think it's important to think about what your time is worth. I think that will help you make decisions in how you use your time and how to place your time wisely, how to use your time wisely. If you work by the hour, you have an hourly rate. And even if you're salaried, chances are there's an hourly rate attached to that, attached to your salary. So in that essence, that your time at work is worth a certain amount per hour. Now you have something to base your decisions on. You have a baseline of information to say, okay, if I'm making, say, I'm going to go big here, I'm going to say $100 an hour. If you earn $100 an hour, but you're spending your time doing where you get a $25 value out of it, your time is better spent working than doing that one thing that gets you $25 in value, like changing the oil on your car. I think this is a great example of that. I used to change the oil on my car, but it's cheaper and it's less time intensive for me to just take it to the Jiffy Lube down the street and pay them the $30 that I pay them or whatever I pay them. It's usually more because I always have
they upsell you on everything.
Yeah, they upsell me, but it still applies. Is that my time that I spend doing that and giving them my money for? I'm getting something in return. It would take me longer time. It would be much more hassle. I'd be losing more time if I did it myself. So for me, it's worth to spend that money. Same thing with some home improvement items. Now, my dad always thought that he could do everything better than anybody else. He wasn't always right on that. And my mom will tell you that the many examples that they had to bring in a professional after the fact
To fix up his mistakes.
yeah, to fix his mistakes, and it ended up costing them more in the long run. Whereas if they just would have gone to a professional who had the time and the experience and the equipment, the right equipment to do the job right the first time, they would have been, much better off. Start thinking about how you spend your time, and what you're getting out of that time, and hopefully you can start spending the minutes of your time and making them count more towards whatever you're trying to do with your life, or whatever type of positive change you're trying to create in your life. If you can group these moments together, in your hands, and start packing them tightly together, you can form a snowball of moments that you can put on the ground and start pushing, and it will get bigger and bigger and more powerful, carry more weight, and start gathering momentum, and get you to a place to where you're not having to work to benefit from that. It's going to pay off.
And this, John, this works in everything. I mean, we talk mainly a lot about habits on this show, about creating positive habits. And I know that little by little, I've wiped out things that I didn't like about my lifestyle. I gave up Diet Coke and substituted it for water, and that was a big one. It was really hard. It sounds, really, trivial, but it wasn't for me because I drank so much of it. And finally, when I got it out of my life, I've been almost 2 or 3 years now of drinking only water, and it feels like an accomplishment. I mean, and what happens is you go, okay, I can do that, so now let me do my next thing. Then I started lifting weights again. I was like, I hadn't been working out, in a long time, so I want to get back in shape. And I've been doing jujitsu, but jujitsu is not, it's great, but it's not everything. You need also some strength training and, some other supplementary exercises. And I started adding this stuff in, and, now I'm doing the stairs, and it's all building up. And I'm starting to see benefits from everything. And that rolls over to, okay, I'm training harder, so let me clean up my diet. Let me just start eating. And I don't go crazy. I still, I just had Chinese food a little while ago, which was your first Chinese food in quite a while. But on average, my breakfast and lunch are always really clean. It's real low carbohydrates, some fruits and vegetables, and some protein, and it gives me, so if I come home and we decide to go out that night for, a night out on the beach, get a burger or something, it's not such a big deal, but it all adds up because I'm adding better habits to counteract the times that I do eat bad and what have you. And all this stuff builds upon each other. So before you know it, you have a lifestyle. You have a lifestyle that has changed. So I live a healthy lifestyle. And that is important to me, especially, getting up, I'm like I said, I'm going to be turning 50. And for me, that's a mark where I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy into my later years and not have to worry about doctor bills and whatever. It all starts with a single step, man.
Yeah, it does start with just a single step. And like you said, it just builds and builds, over time. But if you commit to if you tell yourself that you're going to do something on a daily basis, for me, it's playing guitar. I want to play at least 10 minutes a day to for a while. I want to do that. But I've had a change in my role on my day job. So it's been very stressful lately, and I haven't been able to, there have been some days where I have not been able to carve out that 10 minute of time. Most of the times I'm like, I need this, and I do it. But it crosses my mind on a daily basis, even if I'm not able to do it, or do the full 10 minutes. So don't get yourself down about that. Back when Tommy and I used to do a lot of weightlifting, and you can't work out every day. I mean, life happens. Sometimes things get in the way that prohibit you from doing what you want to do. Um, if you get down and you dwell on that, that's not accomplishing anything. It's not really a good use of your time. It's more important to do that next day. Pick it up. Do what you set out to do as much as you possibly can. You know,
And John, in starting small, it's also the same way with exercising. I like when we talk about working out, and I know that we relate a lot to this too, but you learn from sports and activities and exercise, you learn a lot of valuable lessons that will transpire into anything in your life. And so like when I started lifting weights again, I didn't go out with a full like bodybuilding regimen that, was like a 4-day split or, 3 on, 2 off, this kind of crazy thing. I did it real simple. I work out twice a week right now as far as weights, but I also do the stairs every day. I do jujitsu. So it all bounces out to a very well-rounded, level of things, but it started small. Everything was small. It wasn't like I'm going crazy on any of them. And even now, my routine is still very simple and very basic because, it's like when you build a foundation in a house, the basics are the most important. It's the same thing in any sport, the foundation, the basics. If you're playing baseball, you got to know how to pitch, you got to know how to throw, you got to know how to hit and run. But it's...
Yeah, if you have a poor foundation, think of it, if you're building a house, if your foundation is crumbling, your house is not going to be that solid. You will never be able to build a solid house on a crumbling foundation. You have to have a strong foundation to have that house. Now,
and also, John, if it's too overwhelming, if someone said, okay, can you build, a very basic block, like a square, you're building your house and make it as basic as it, you say, okay, that's attainable. I can do that. But if they showed you this, like the blueprints of some mansion, you're going to be like, there's no way I can't build this thing. So you got to start off real simple. And even if you have to keep it simple for a long time before you ramp it up, and by those little increments, you really aren't going to notice it. You're just going to look back one day and go, my God, I've built a freaking mansion, because I've been adding on for years and doing all these little different, adjustments.
Yeah, and also you will experience setbacks.
Of course.
Now, if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, you know that for probably over a year, I was doing push-ups on a daily basis. I work from my home. It's very difficult for me to get out to the gym, and I started doing body weight exercises. That was doing planks, that was doing push-ups. I was doing at least 40 to 50 push-ups at least once a day, all in one set. And sometimes I do multiple sets. I was dedicated, and I saw I made huge progress. I started feeling better. I started getting in shape again. My muscles were getting toned. And then what happens? I have a near fall in a parking lot, and I had slipped discs in my back. My right leg started going numb. I started experiencing muscle weakness in my legs. It was painful as hell. In fact, it was like sailor cursing level pain. As soon as you get up out of bed, it was terrible. It set me back. It just stopped that progress. And then I had surgery on my hands. The doctors cleared me. I had a epidural steroid injection in my back that has helped clear up the reduced inflammation in my spine, and I don't have the issues with my herniated disc. It's time has passed. It's healing itself, which is great. Doctor said I could start back to exercise. My hand surgeon said, sure, you can do, you're not limited to your exercise. The only limit is the pain that you want to experience. So, I've been cleared by the doctor. So I started to get back into push-ups. I tried to do a push-up, and my lat hurt me so bad. It was like a sprained muscle because,
you're trying to compensate.
All the muscles in your hands tie all the way. They tie into other muscles and tendons, and there's a system. It goes all the way up your arm, and it into your back. I tried to do one. It was so painful. I couldn't do anything. I could barely manage a plank. So I stopped. I waited a few days. I went back. I was able to get 7 or 8 push-ups that next time. I did them slow, but then I still felt like it wasn't right. So I waited. I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep doing that. I got to keep coming back to it. Keep trying day in and day out. Even if you do one push-up, that's better than doing no push-ups. You got to at least try, because if you don't try, you'll never advance.
And you can pivot. John, I'll prescribe you air squats. Do a bunch of air squats. And this is not an exercise show, but it really does. I mean, John's right. Things happen in life, and there's setbacks they're going to happen. It's Murphy's Law. And something's always going to come and derail you. But pivot and do your best.
So I know it's probably time to start wrapping this episode up.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to share with the audience that recently a friend of mine that I went to high school with, I knew since middle school, died, and I didn't know it. We had, of course, as you leave high school and you start your families of your own, and time passes, you get to see people more on Facebook than you do anywhere else. So I had kind of reconnected with this person on Facebook. I didn't know she was sick. She has two kids, husband, and she died recently. And all this really got me thinking more and more about how we spend our time. Now, Debbie was a tremendous person, and as you read all the comments about her from friends on Facebook and people who knew her, they're not talking about the car she drove or the house that she drove or the outfits that she wore. What they talk about is they talk about the smile that she had and the love that she had for her students. She taught baton twirling, and so she coached a number of young women on baton twirling and shared her knowledge with them. And she was an educator. She really helped a lot of people, and she will be remembered for her smile and her charisma and her talents, not her possessions or the car she drove or all these other little things that don't make any difference. What people remember are the moments that they share with you, or like that,
and the lives you've touched and changed and had impact on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they say that death is a great motivator. So here's an exercise that you can do. Imagine that you're at a funeral and that it's your funeral and you've been asked to give the eulogy. What would you like said about you at your funeral? Whatever that is, whatever you want said about you when you die, that is your priority, or those are your priorities. If you say you want to be known as a person who, would give their friend the shirt off their back, was a loyal person, was a great family man, or loved their family, that's where you should be spending your time. Those are the moments that you should be focusing on and gathering by hand and packing into that snowball, because over time, that snowball is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that is what it's all about. When it comes to the end of our life, we want to be known for what we want to be known for. And that is determined by how you spend the minutes of your life.
Well said, man. Well said. Well, I'm Tom Stewart, joined with my friend John Curren, and I hope that you check out swiftkickinatheass.com, sign up for our free membership site, and tune in because there might be some more goodies coming in there. Just drop your email there and we'll hook you up and you're in like Flynn.
Well, until next time,
Peace.
this is John and Tom. Peace.